The sound of metal scraping against metal made my blood run cold. I stood frozen in my own hallway, listening to someone breaking into my bedroom safe. My phone was already in my hand, but it wasn't 911 I was calling. I hit the number for my attorney, Helen, who I'd asked to meet me here at exactly 3 o'clock. She'd be pulling up any minute now. "I'm here, Barbara." Helen's voice came through my Bluetooth earpiece, quiet and professional. "Coming up the walkway now." "He's in my bedroom," I whispered, breaking into my safe. Through the phone, I heard Helen's sharp intake of breath. "I'm calling the police. Stay in the hall. Don't confront him alone." But I'd been confronting Tyler in my head for 3 months now. 3 months of watching my son-in-law turn my peaceful home into his personal kingdom. 3 months of biting my tongue while he made my daughter cry. 3 months of discovering that everything I'd worked 40 years to build was at risk because I'd made the mistake of trusting family. I was done being quiet. My name is Barbara Hayes, and I'm 67 years old. I taught high school English for 42 years in Portland, Oregon, retiring 5 years ago after my husband Daniel passed from a sudden heart attack. Daniel and I had been careful with money our whole lives. We'd paid off our house, built a decent retirement fund, and I had a pension that allowed me to live comfortably in the 3-bedroom Craftsman we'd bought in 1985 for $70,000. It's worth over $600,000 now. I had one daughter, Rachel. She'd always been my pride and joy, a pediatric nurse at Oregon Health and Science University, dedicated and compassionate. When she married Tyler Grayson 3 years ago, I had my reservations, but I kept them to myself. A mother wants her daughter to be happy, and Rachel seemed happy. Tyler was a salesman, or at least that's what he called himself. Entrepreneur was his preferred term. He was always working on the next big deal, the next opportunity, the next investment that was going to make him rich. What he never seemed to have was actual money. 6 months ago, Tyler's latest business venture collapsed. Something to do with drop shipping essential oils or cryptocurrency. I could never quite follow his explanations. Rachel came to me in tears. They were 3 months behind on rent for their apartment. Tyler's truck was about to be repossessed. Could they stay with me? Just for a little while? Just until Tyler got back on his feet? I said yes. Of course I said yes. Rachel was my daughter and I had the space. They could take the guest room, save some money, and get back on track. I told myself it would be temporary. 6 weeks, maybe 2 months at most. That was in May. It was now October. The first week was fine. Rachel worked her 12-hour shifts at the hospital while Tyler supposedly job hunted. He'd sit at my kitchen table with his laptop, clicking away, making phone calls. He seemed motivated. He thanked me profusely for helping them out, promised they'd be out of my hair soon. The second week, small things started changing. Tyler rearranged my living room furniture to optimize the flow. He switched my internet provider without asking because he'd found a better deal. When I objected, he looked hurt. "I'm just trying to help, Barbara. You're paying too much for slow internet. I thought you'd be happy to save money." Rachel sided with him. "Mom, he's right. The new service is faster and cheaper." "Why are you upset?" I let it go. I told myself I was being territorial, that I needed to be more flexible. By week 3, Tyler had stopped job hunting. When I asked about it, he had excuses. The market was terrible. His skills were too specialized. He was better off working on his own projects. He'd set up a home office in my dining room, his equipment spreading across my grandmother's oak table. "Just temporarily," he assured me, "until I close this consulting deal." The consulting deal never materialized, but his presence in my dining room became permanent. My dining room became his office. My kitchen became his break room, always messy with his protein shake containers and energy drink cans. My peaceful mornings became interrupted by his conference calls, his voice booming through my house as he pitched ideas to people who never seemed to buy them. Rachel worked longer and longer hours. When she was home, she was exhausted, sleeping or crying. Tyler was stressed about money, she'd tell me. He didn't mean to snap at her. He was just frustrated. Once he got a break, things would be better. I watched my daughter shrink. The vibrant, confident woman who'd graduated nursing school with honors became anxious and apologetic. She stopped meeting friends for coffee. She stopped calling her cousin Amanda. She came home from 12-hour shifts and cooked dinner for Tyler while he played video games in the living room. "Rachel," I said one evening, watching her scrub dishes while Tyler shouted at his screen in the next room, Maybe you two should look into some counseling." Her hands stilled in the soapy water. "We're fine, Mom." "Honey, you don't seem fine. You seem exhausted and unhappy." "I'm just tired from work. Tyler's going through a rough patch. He needs my support right now." "What about your needs? When does he support you?" She pulled her hands from the sink and dried them slowly on a towel, not meeting my eyes. "You don't understand what it's like being married, Mom. It's not all romance and easy conversations. Sometimes you have to be there for your partner even when it's hard." The implications stung, that I didn't understand marriage because Daniel was gone. That 40 years with a man who treated me as an equal partner meant nothing. I'd swallowed my words that night, but I'd started paying closer attention. I noticed that Tyler's projects never produced income, but he always had money for the premium gaming subscriptions and takeout lunches. I noticed that Rachel's paychecks, which I knew went into their joint account, seemed to evaporate. I noticed that Tyler never cleaned up after himself, never cooked, never contributed to groceries despite eating more than Rachel and I combined. Then, about 6 weeks ago, I overheard a phone conversation that changed everything. I'd come home early from my book club because I'd forgotten my reading glasses. As I entered through the back door into the kitchen, I heard Tyler in the dining room, his voice low but excited. "Dude, I'm telling you, this is the smartest move I've ever made. She's loaded. The house alone is worth over $500,000, and that's not even counting her retirement accounts." I froze, my hand still on the doorknob. "No, Rachel doesn't know the full plan yet. I'm working on her. Her mom's already in her late 60s. How much longer is she really going to live? And Rachel's an only child." My chest tightened. "Look, worst case scenario, we're living rent-free while I build the business. Best case, the old lady kicks it and Rachel inherits everything. Either way, I'm positioned perfectly. I just gotta keep Rachel convinced that I'm struggling, and she needs to be patient." There was a pause while the person on the other end spoke. Tyler laughed. "Nah, Barbara's a pushover. She's too worried about what Rachel thinks to kick us out, and Rachel feels guilty that I lost my job, so she'll do whatever I need. I've got this completely under control." I backed out of the kitchen as quietly as I'd entered, went to my car, and sat there shaking for 20 minutes. Then I drove to a coffee shop and called my lawyer. Helen Rodriguez had handled Daniel's estate and helped me with some rental property paperwork a few years back. She was sharp, direct, and didn't suffer fools. "He said what?" Helen's voice crackled with anger when I repeated Tyler's conversation. "He's using my daughter, and he's planning to stay in my house until I die, and Rachel inherits." "Can you record him?" "Oregon's a one-party consent state. If you can get him saying these things on tape, we'd have strong evidence." "Evidence for what?" "Financial elder abuse, potentially fraud if he's been forging your signature on anything or accessing your accounts. At minimum, we could get a restraining order and force them to leave. But Barbara, more importantly, your daughter needs to know who she married." Over the next month, I became someone I'd never imagined being. I set up a small recording device in the dining room. I started checking my bank accounts daily. I put a lock on my home office door. And I documented everything. Tyler noticed. "Why's your office locked?" he asked one morning, trying the handle with a frown. "I'm reorganizing my files. Lots of important papers in there." His eyes narrowed. "What kind of papers?" "Tax documents, investment statements, that sort of thing. Nothing exciting." "I could help you organize. I'm good with financial stuff." "That's kind of you, but I've got it handled." He didn't like that answer. Over the next week, he became more insistent. Had I thought about updating my will? Had I designated a power of attorney? At my age, with no husband, I should really have someone who could make medical decisions if something happened. "I've already got all that arranged," I told him. "With who? Rachel? Because she'd want me involved in those decisions too." "It's handled, Tyler." The temperature in the house dropped. Tyler stopped being polite. He made noise when I was trying to read. He and Rachel had loud arguments in their bedroom, always ending with Rachel crying. He left messes everywhere, and when I asked him to clean up, he'd sigh dramatically. "I'm busy, Barbara. I'm trying to build a business. Maybe if you were more supportive instead of nitpicking, I'd be making money already." Rachel started avoiding me. When I tried to talk to her alone, she made excuses. She picked up extra shifts. She came home after I went to bed and left before I woke up. But I had my recordings. Hours of Tyler on phone calls, talking about the old lady's assets and how he was positioning himself for the inheritance. Conversations about how he needed to keep Rachel dependent so she wouldn't leave him. Discussions about my house, my retirement accounts, even my life insurance policy, which he'd somehow found out about. Helen and I built a case. We documented that Tyler hadn't paid a penny toward household expenses in 5 months. We had recordings of him admitting he was using me and manipulating Rachel. We had evidence that he'd been accessing my mail because I'd caught him with a bank statement I hadn't opened yet. "He's planning something," Helen said during one of our meetings at her office. "Men like this don't just wait around, he's going to make a move." What kind of move? Could be anything. Identity theft, forged signatures on financial documents, maybe even trying to get you declared incompetent so Rachel can take over your finances. Has he ever asked about your mental health? My stomach dropped. He had. Just last week he'd made a comment to Rachel, in front of me, about how I'd seemed confused lately. How I'd forgotten that he'd told me about having friends over, which was a lie. There had been 3 strange men in my living room at 10 p.m., and I'd had no warning they were coming. "Mom's getting older," Tyler had said with false sympathy. "It's normal. Memory starts to go." Rachel had looked at me with concern, and I'd seen the seed of doubt planted. That's when I made my decision. I called Helen and told her we needed to move faster. She agreed. "Next Wednesday," Helen said. "I'll draw up eviction papers. In Oregon, you can evict someone even without a lease if you give proper notice. Meanwhile, we need to secure your assets. I want you to change your bank passwords, put fraud alerts on your credit, and most importantly, I want you to move your valuable documents somewhere he can't access them." I did better than that. I installed a small safe in my bedroom closet and transferred everything important into it. Birth certificates, passports, investment statements, jewelry, the deed to my house. I set the combination to Daniel's birthday, something Tyler would never guess. The day I installed it, Tyler noticed. "Getting a safe?" he asked, appearing in my bedroom doorway as I was having it mounted to the wall studs. "Just taking precautions. There's been some package thefts in the neighborhood." "Kind of extreme, isn't it? What are you putting in there, the crown jewels?" "Just important papers." His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He disappeared back into the dining room, and I heard him on the phone minutes later, his voice agitated though I couldn't make out words. That night, Rachel came home with flowers and apologies. "Mom, I'm sorry I've been distant. Tyler and I have been stressed with money stuff, but that's not your fault. You've been so generous letting us stay here. I want us to be close again." It broke my heart. This wasn't Rachel. This was Rachel saying what Tyler had told her to say, trying to get back into my good graces, trying to get information about the safe, probably. "I love you, honey," I told her, hugging her tight. "Always." That weekend I went to visit my sister in Eugene, something I'd planned weeks ago. It was just an overnight trip, but I wanted Tyler to know I did leave the house sometimes. I wanted him to feel comfortable, unsupervised. Helen's advice echoed in my head. Sometimes you have to give them enough rope to hang themselves. I came back Sunday afternoon. The house felt wrong the moment I walked in. Nothing was obviously different, but there was an energy, like someone had been searching for something. My bedroom door was open, though I'd closed it. The closet door was ajar, and there, on the carpet near the safe, were faint scuff marks. Someone had been kneeling there. The safe was undamaged, combination lock still secure, but someone had tried to get into it. I could see scratches around the dial, as if someone had tried to force it. My hands shook as I checked the contents. Everything was still there, but it didn't matter. The violation was complete. I called Helen immediately. "Wednesday," she said firmly. "I'm filing the eviction papers tomorrow. Wednesday afternoon at 3, I'm coming to your house with the notice. That gives him 1 day to try something stupid. If he does, we'll catch him." What if he doesn't try anything? "Barbara, men like Tyler always try something. His back's against the wall. He knows you're on to him. He's going to make a move, and we're going to be ready." Monday passed tensely. Tyler watched me constantly. Every time I left a room, I felt his eyes following me. Rachel was at work, a double shift. Tuesday morning, Tyler came into the kitchen while I was making coffee. "We need to talk," he said. "About what?" "About this situation. About respect. You've been acting weird lately, Barbara. Locks on doors. That's safe. treating me like I'm some kind of criminal. I'm your son-in-law. I'm family. Family contributes, I said quietly. Family doesn't freeload. His face flushed red. Freeload? I lost my job. I'm trying to rebuild. Rachel understands that, even if you don't. Rachel works 60 hours a week while you play video games. I'm networking. I'm building connections. But you wouldn't understand business. I understand a man who doesn't pull his weight. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. Be very careful, Barbara. Rachel's my wife. If you push this, if you try to come between us, you'll lose your daughter. She'll choose me. And then you'll be alone in this big house, getting older every day, with nobody to take care of you. Is that what you want? My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. Is that a threat? It's reality. You need us more than we need you. There are plenty of places we could go. Rachel's been talking about moving to Seattle anyway. Better opportunities there. Better for her career. He paused. But if we left, you'd never see your daughter again. Or any future grandchildren. That would be sad, wouldn't it? He left the kitchen, leaving me gripping the counter. I texted Helen immediately. He just threatened me. Her response was instant. Did you record it? I had. The device in the kitchen had caught everything. Tomorrow, Helen texted. Stay strong. One more day. Wednesday morning, Rachel left for work at 6 a.m. Tyler slept until 10, then emerged and went straight to his laptop in the dining room. I stayed in the living room, pretending to read, actually watching the clock. At 2:30, Tyler got a phone call. His voice was excited. Yeah, I can meet now. Give me 45 minutes. He appeared in the living room doorway. I'm heading out for a meeting. Potential investor for my consulting business. Should be gone a couple hours. Good luck, I said neutrally. He left. I watched from the window as his truck pulled out of the driveway. Then I called Helen. He's gone, I said. He said he'll be back in a couple hours. He's lying, Helen said immediately. He's waiting somewhere nearby. Barbara, I want you to listen very carefully. At 3 o'clock, I'm going to text you. When I do, I want you to make a big show of leaving. Get in your car, drive away. Don't actually leave. Circle the block and park where you can see your house but he can't see you. You think he's going to break in? I think he's going to use his key to enter his current residence and try to access your safe one more time, and this time, we're going to catch him. My mouth went dry. What if he hurts me? He won't get the chance. I've arranged for Officer Patricia Mendez to be in the area. She's a friend, and she's very interested in this case. The moment he enters that house after you leave, we're calling her. She'll be there in under 2 minutes. At 2:55, Helen's text came. Time to go, big show. I grabbed my purse, made sure to jingle my keys loudly, and called out even though the house was empty. I'm heading to the store. Be back in an hour. I slammed the front door, got in my car, and drove away slowly, making sure to pass the coffee shop 3 blocks down where Tyler's truck was parked in the back lot. I circled the neighborhood and parked 2 houses down, where I could see my front door through someone's side yard. I felt ridiculous, like a spy in a bad movie, but my heart was racing. 5 minutes passed. Then Tyler's truck appeared, driving slowly past my house. He circled once, twice, making sure I was really gone. Then he pulled into my driveway. He had a key, of course. He lived there. But watching him enter my house, knowing what he planned to do, made my skin crawl. I texted Helen, he's inside. Her response, Officer Mendez is 3 minutes out. Stay in your car. Do not go inside. Those 3 minutes felt like hours. I kept imagining what Tyler was doing. He'd go straight to my bedroom, straight to the safe. He'd try the combination lock again, maybe try to pry it open. A police cruiser turned onto my street, lights off, moving slowly. It parked in front of my house. Now, Helen texted, drive up now. I pulled into my driveway behind Tyler's truck, blocking him in. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely unbuckle my seatbelt. Officer Mendez was already at my front door. Helen's car appeared from the opposite direction. She must have been waiting around the corner. We met at the door, the 3 of us. Officer Mendez knocked firmly. Portland Police. Open the door, please. No response. She knocked again. Mr. Grayson, this is the Portland Police. Open the door. I used my key. The door swung open. The house was quiet. Officer Mendez entered first, hand on her weapon, calling out, "Police! Make yourself known!" "I'm in here!" Tyler's voice came from my bedroom, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the panic. "Just organizing some stuff for Barbara." We walked down the hallway, Helen, Officer Mendez, and me. My bedroom door was open. Tyler was kneeling in front of my closet, my safe visible behind him. In his hands was a small crowbar. He looked up and saw us. His face went through a series of expressions: surprise, confusion, calculation, and finally, anger masquerading as innocence. "Barbara, I thought you went to the store." "I was just, I noticed your closet door wasn't closing right, thought I'd fix the hinge." He held up the crowbar as if this explained everything. Officer Mendez stepped forward. "Mr. Grayson, I need you to put down the tool and step away from the safe." "What? This is crazy. I live here. I was just helping." "You were breaking into a safe," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, with a crowbar. "I wasn't breaking in. I was checking if it was secure." After that conversation we had about security, I thought, "You thought you'd use a crowbar to test how secure it is?" Helen's voice was cold and professional. "That's interesting. Officer Mendez, I believe this constitutes attempted theft." Tyler stood up, the crowbar still in his hand. "This is insane. Barbara, tell them. Tell them I'm your son-in-law. I'm allowed to be here." "You're allowed to be in the guest room," I said quietly. "You're not allowed to be in my bedroom with a crowbar trying to open my safe." "I wasn't trying to open it." "Then why is the crowbar positioned against the lock plate?" Officer Mendez pointed. There were fresh scratches on the metal around the combination dial. "These marks are new." Tyler's composure cracked. "You set me up. You planned this whole thing." "I protected myself," I corrected. "From someone who admitted on recording that he was using me and my daughter to access my assets." His face went white. "You recorded me?" "Oregon is a one-party consent state," Helen said pleasantly. "Mrs. Hayes was well within her rights to record conversations in her own home. Conversations in which you discussed plans to exploit her financially, manipulate her daughter, and wait for her death to inherit her property. Property that, I should mention, is protected by a will that leaves everything to Rachel personally, with a clause that specifically excludes spouses from inheritance. I'd added that clause 2 weeks ago, at Helen's suggestion." Tyler looked at me with pure hatred now, the mask completely dropped. "You vindictive old bitch. I've been taking care of you. And this is how you repay me?" "Taking care of me?" My voice rose. "You haven't paid a single bill in 5 months. You've eaten my food, used my utilities, taken over my home, and manipulated my daughter. The only person you've been taking care of is yourself." "Rachel's gonna choose me," he snarled, "not you." "Rachel's going to choose the truth," Helen interjected. "Which is why we've compiled all of the recordings, all of the evidence of your financial abuse and exploitation, into a comprehensive file, which Rachel will see today." Officer Mendez cleared her throat. "Mr. Grayson, I need you to come with me to answer some questions about what you were doing with that crowbar, Mrs. Hayes. You'll need to come down to the station to file a formal report." "Am I being arrested?" Tyler demanded. "Not at this time." "But Mrs. Hayes is within her rights to request a restraining order, and I'm obligated to investigate any attempt to access someone's personal property without permission, even in a shared residence." As Officer Mendez escorted Tyler out, still protesting, Helen handed me an envelope. "Eviction notice," she said. "Legally served. He has 30 days to vacate the premises, though given what just happened, I'd recommend you file for an emergency removal based on attempted theft. We can have him out by the end of the week." I sank onto my bed, suddenly exhausted. What about Rachel? "I've already called her. She's leaving work now, meeting us at the police station. Barbara, you did the right thing. Your daughter needs to see who she married before it's too late." The police station was stark and fluorescent and smelled like burnt coffee and bureaucracy. I sat in a small conference room with Helen, giving my statement to Officer Mendez, when Rachel burst in. She looked wild, her scrubs wrinkled, her hair escaping from its ponytail. "Mom? What's going on?" "They told me Tyler was here, something about a crowbar." I stood up, wanting to hug her, but she stepped back, her eyes confused and accusing. "Rachel," I started, but my voice broke. Helen stood up smoothly. Mrs. Grayson, I'm Helen Rodriguez, your mother's attorney. I think you should sit down. Why do you have an attorney? Mom, what did you do? It's what your husband did, Helen said firmly, and what he's been planning to do. Mrs. Hayes, may I? I nodded. Helen opened her laptop and turned it toward Rachel. These are audio recordings from your mother's home over the past 6 weeks. I'm going to play you 3 of them. Rachel sat down slowly, her eyes on the screen. Helen pressed play. Tyler's voice filled the room, tinny but clear. Dude, I'm telling you, this is the smartest move I've ever made. She's loaded. The house alone is worth over $500,000. Rachel's face went pale. The second recording was worse. Tyler talking about keeping Rachel dependent and loyal, discussing how her long work hours were actually perfect because she was too tired to ask questions. By the third recording, where Tyler discussed waiting for me to die so Rachel could inherit, my daughter was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. He doesn't mean it like that, she whispered. He's just frustrated, he says things. Rachel. I knelt in front of her chair, taking her hands. They were cold. Honey, he tried to break into my safe today, with a crowbar. That's why the police are involved. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the moment the fog lifted. The moment she saw clearly what had been happening. He told me you were getting paranoid, she said softly. He said you were being mean to him because you didn't want to share me. He said you were jealous of our marriage. I was never jealous. I was scared. Scared for you, scared for both of us. Rachel pulled her hands away and covered her face. Her shoulders shook. I've been so stupid. You've been manipulated, Helen corrected gently. There's a difference. Your husband is very good at what he does. This isn't the first time he's done this. We pulled his records. He was married once before, to a woman whose mother had substantial assets. Similar pattern. He's a predator, Mrs. Grayson. And you were his access point to your mother. Rachel looked up, her face blotchy and red. What do I do? First, Helen said, you need to secure your finances. Do you have a joint account with him? Rachel nodded miserably. We need to freeze it. Today. Right now. How much is in there? I don't know. A few thousand, maybe? My paychecks go in there. Not anymore, they don't. We're setting up a new account in your name only. Do you have credit cards together? Just one. In my name, but he has a card. Cancel it. Check your credit report for anything he might have opened without your knowledge. Rachel was nodding, wiping her eyes. I can't believe this is happening. Mom. She looked at me. I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have seen. He was very good at hiding it, I said softly. And you loved him. That's not a weakness, honey. That's being human. Officer Mendez came back into the room. Mrs. Hayes, we're keeping Mr. Grayson here for questioning for a few more hours, but I need to be honest with you. Unless you want to press charges for attempted burglary, we'll have to release him. He technically does still live at your residence, which complicates things legally. She's evicting him, Helen said immediately. The paperwork's been filed, and Mrs. Grayson here is going to request a restraining order on her own behalf, citing emotional abuse and financial control. Rachel looked at Helen, then at me, then back at Helen. Can I really do that? You not only can, you should, for your protection. He's going to be very angry when he realizes you know the truth. Rachel took a shaky breath. Okay. Yes. Tell me what to do. We spent the next 3 hours at the police station, then at Helen's office. Rachel filed for a restraining order. We helped her open a new bank account and move her direct deposit. We canceled the credit card. We pulled her credit report and thankfully found no surprises. Tyler hadn't gone that far yet. By 7 p.m., we were exhausted but finished. Helen drove us both back to my house. Tyler's truck was gone from the driveway. He came and got it, Helen said. Don't worry. He's not allowed back inside. I've already arranged for a locksmith to come first thing tomorrow to change all the locks. Rachel and I went inside together. The house felt different now, lighter somehow, despite the tension. My daughter broke down in the kitchen, great heaving sobs that she'd been holding in for hours. I held her while she cried, stroking her hair like I'd done when she was little. I loved him, she gasped. I really thought he loved me. I know, baby. I know. How could I be so blind? He was very good at making himself believable. That's not your fault. We ordered Thai food and sat on the couch, not eating much, just being together. Rachel told me things she'd been hiding, how Tyler had told her I was getting dementia, how he'd said I was jealous of their marriage, how he'd convinced her that my concern was actually me trying to control her life. I stopped calling Amanda because he said she was putting ideas in my head about him. I stopped book club because he said I was using it to avoid him. I felt guilty all the time, like I wasn't being a good wife. You were being a good person, I told her. He weaponized that against you. Around 9, Tyler started calling her phone. She'd blocked him on Helen's advice, so the calls didn't come through, but her phone kept lighting up with voicemail notifications. Should I listen to them? She asked. Not tonight, I said. Tonight you rest. Everything else can wait. We fell asleep on the couch, my daughter curled up against me like she used to during scary movies when she was 8. I didn't sleep deeply, jerking awake at every sound, half expecting Tyler to break in. But he didn't come. Not that night. The locksmith arrived at 8 a.m. the next morning. By 9, every lock in the house had been changed, and I had new keys that Tyler couldn't possibly have copied. Rachel had the day off. We spent it going through the house, packing up Tyler's belongings. It felt therapeutic, putting his life into boxes. All his gaming equipment, his clothes, his protein powders and energy drinks. All evidence of his presence, contained and ready to be removed. Helen arrived at noon with an update. The restraining order was approved, both yours and Rachel's. He can't come within 100 yards of either of you. We've arranged for him to pick up his belongings from a storage unit, not from your house. He's been notified. How did he take it? Rachel asked quietly. About as well as you'd expect. Lots of threats about lawyers and lawsuits. But Mrs. Hayes, you're on very solid legal ground. He has no claim to your house, your assets, or anything else. And Rachel, you'll want to file for divorce as soon as possible. Rachel nodded, looking numb. Yeah, I figured. The divorce papers were filed 3 days later. Tyler contested nothing, probably because he knew he had no leg to stand on. It was finalized in 6 weeks, unusually fast, but Helen knew the right people and filed under emotional abuse statutes that expedited the process. Tyler tried to contact Rachel twice more, both times violating the restraining order. The second time, Officer Mendez arrested him. He spent 2 nights in jail and paid a fine. After that, he disappeared from our lives completely. We heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd moved to Seattle, supposedly working in tech sales. 2 months later, Rachel ran into an old friend who mentioned that Tyler was engaged to a woman whose elderly mother owned a large house in Queen Anne. The pattern was repeating. Should we warn her? Rachel asked me. Would she listen? I asked gently. Rachel thought about it, then shook her head sadly. I wouldn't have. Then we let it go. We can't save everyone, honey. We can only save ourselves. It's been 4 months now since that day with the crowbar. Rachel moved her things back into her old bedroom, the one she'd had growing up. She says it's temporary, that she's saving for her own place, but I secretly hope she stays a little longer. I've missed having her here. She's in therapy now, working through the manipulation and emotional abuse. She's reconnected with Amanda and her other friends. She signed up for a painting class, something she'd loved in college but given up because Tyler said it was a waste of money. Last week, she laughed at a joke on TV, a real genuine laugh, and I realized I hadn't heard her laugh like that in over a year. As for me, I'm sleeping better. My house feels like mine again. I have my routines back, my space, my peace. The dining room is a dining room again, not an office. The living room furniture is arranged the way I like it. I can watch what I want on TV without someone complaining. But more than that, I have my daughter back. Not the anxious, exhausted shell Tyler had molded her into, but Rachel, my strong, compassionate, brilliant daughter who deserves so much better than what she got. She started dating again, very casually. She tells me about every date, asks my opinion. Last night, after she came home from coffee with a resident from the hospital, she flopped on the couch next to me. He was nice, she said. Maybe too nice. Is that a thing? Can someone be too nice? Nice is good, I told her. But watch for consistent behavior, not just charm. Does he show up when he says he will? Does he respect your boundaries? Does he have his own life, his own friends, his own interests? Those are the things that matter. She nodded thoughtfully. Tyler didn't have any of that. I just didn't see it. Now you know what to look for. Now I know what to look for, she agreed. This morning I was cleaning out my safe to add some new documents, and I found Daniel's old watch. He'd worn it every day for 30 years. I held it for a long time, remembering my husband's steady, reliable presence, how he'd always treated me as an equal, how he'd been genuinely excited about my career, my interests, my life outside of our marriage. You'd be proud of her, I said to the watch, to Daniel's memory. She stood up for herself, she chose herself. That takes real courage. Then I closed the safe, spun the lock, and went to make breakfast. Rachel would be up soon and we were going to try that new brunch place downtown, the one she'd been wanting to visit. My life isn't perfect. I'm still dealing with the aftermath of Tyler's presence. There are still moments when Rachel cries, when the weight of what she went through hits her. There are still days when I'm angry that someone tried to use me, to manipulate my daughter, to take what we'd built. But mostly, I feel grateful. Grateful that I trusted my instincts. Grateful that I had the resources to protect myself and my daughter. Grateful that Rachel found her strength when it mattered most. And grateful that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. The house is quiet now in the best possible way. Not the tense silence of conflict waiting to erupt, but the peaceful quiet of safety, of home, of family that actually loves and respects each other. I read somewhere that the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. I'm not indifferent to what happened. I'm not pretending Tyler didn't affect us. But I'm also not letting it define us. Rachel and I are healing, together, on our own terms. Last night she came into my room before bed. "Hey, Mom?" "Yeah, honey?" "Thank you. For not giving up on me. For seeing what I couldn't see. For fighting for us even when I was fighting against you." I pulled her into a hug. "Always. No matter what, that's what mothers do." She squeezed me tight. "I love you. I love you too, baby." After she left, I stood in my bedroom, looking at my safe with its new, secure lock, looking at my space, my sanctuary, my home that I'd fought to protect. And I thought about all the people out there who might be going through something similar, the parents being manipulated by their children's partners, the elderly people being exploited by family members they trust, the people who feel guilty for setting boundaries, who wonder if they're being selfish for protecting themselves. If I could tell them anything, it would be this: trust your instincts, document everything, get help from professionals, and know that protecting yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't help the people you love if you let someone drain you dry. Sometimes the hardest thing we do is stand up to family, but sometimes it's also the most important. My name is Barbara Hayes. I'm 67 years old, and I'm still standing. My daughter is healing, my home is mine, and my future is bright. And that crowbar? It's still in evidence lockup at the Portland Police Department. Sometimes I think about it, that moment when I walked into my bedroom and saw Tyler kneeling by my safe, caught red-handed. The look on his face wasn't surprise. It was fury that he'd been outsmarted by the old lady he'd underestimated. And you know what? I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I didn't roll over. I'm proud that I protected my daughter and myself. I'm proud that I proved you're never too old to fight for what's yours. The story doesn't end with some dramatic confrontation or perfect resolution. Tyler's out there somewhere, probably running the same con on someone else. The divorce left Rachel with nothing but debt and heartache. Some days are still hard. But we're free, and that's everything.